and welcome to this year's 4th episode here in Britt Arnhilds' world, or Britt Arnhilds' verden, as it's called in Norwegian. I am Britt Arnhild, and I'm coming to you from Trondheim, a city in the middle of Norway. I do weekly episodes, 1 week in Norwegian and then the next week in English, then back to Norwegian and then to English. I could make only English videos, but I don't want to do that because I am Norwegian. Norwegian is my mother tongue. I could make only Norwegian episodes, but I want to reach out to English speaking or no Norwegian speaking viewers as well. I could have done subtitles in English, but that's such a lot of work. For me, it's much easier to just do like I have done for a couple of years now. 1 episode in Norwegian and then the next one in English. Some of the content is the same, but most of it is different. And of course, obviously, since it's 1 week between each episode, the things I'm showing you from my knitting will differ. And also, as I have my cell phone camera with me everywhere, the footage I take is also mostly different, because I almost always use fresh footage in my videos. Well, that was an introduction, wasn't it? I also have a web page. I have a Facebook group for this podcast. I'm on Instagram and so on. If I remember, I will put links down here. I tend to forget. Sorry. But you can always ask, of course. I love to get comments, and I write back to everyone, to all of the comments I get. I try to write back, and sometimes we even get a kind of conversation there. The music in my videos, it's very special. It is my mother playing her piano. My mother, she is 91 years old. She will be 92 in a month, the 5th of March. And all the music I'm using has been recorded over the very few last years. Some of it even is from only a couple of months ago, before Christmas, this last Christmas. My mother, she continues to play the piano every single day. She has done so all her life. And obviously, as a almost 92-year-old woman, her fingers are more stiff now than they used to be. But she still plays, and she plays beautifully. And I'm very happy that I can use her playing as a background music. When I started my videos, I used free music from YouTube. And then for a couple of years, I think, sorry, I used music from my sister-in-law. She's Icelandic. Her artist name is Fabula, fabula.is. You can find her music. And I could use it for some time, but then Facebook started to protest because, well, there are so many rules about the music. So even though my sister-in-law had allowed me to use it, there are, of course, other companies and people involved also. So, and then I came up with the great idea to use my mother's music, which I have done for a couple of years now, I think. Well, that was a long introduction. My videos, they are with a lot of nature. I love nature, with hiking, with birds, a lot of knitting. There will be knitting in every episode. Knitting is kind of what binds my episodes together. There will be gardening as soon as the snow leaves our garden now. Travels, books, and about life in general. But as I said, in all the episodes, there will be the longest sequence of knitting. Today I will talk about, I'm looking at my notes here. I think I will talk about, it might be 4 different projects. I will take you to the cabin. In the end of the video, there will be a long sequence of birds and views and a hike we did. My husband and I, we drove to our cabin a 2 hours drive on Monday, and we came back yesterday, Wednesday, and we had winter, really winter, with snowstorms, with the sun, with birds, all the exciting parts of winter. So you will see from that in the end, and that's also why and you have already seen something also, and that's why I have called this episode Winter's Many Faces. And we had a very tough drive home, which I filmed for you. So I will also show you that and talk about it. But let's talk about knitting. I'm sitting here knitting on something simple, a pair of wrist warmers, just to have something simple to knit on while I'm talking to you. I have a kind of, what do you call it? A bucket, a wooden bucket, with some yarn and a pile of wrist warmers. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs here. I have talked about this earlier, but maybe not in one of the English episodes. I can't quite remember. But I'm a fan of Gudrun Sjödén, as we call her, the Swedish cloth designer and company. And in the Gudrun magazine, which came in, I think it was November, there were some pictures where wrist warmers were on display. And I fell in love with them. And I knew I had some very good soft yarn to use. So I started to, they are very simple. I'll show you. I had some other ones on now. Let me take the first pair I knitted in orange and purple. So I just knit straight up on 5 needles, double pointed needles, and I make a hole for the thumbs. So I do no decreasing or increasing. I just start and knit up to the top, only making this hole for the thumb. I have no pattern, just my own imagination and the pictures I saw in the Gudrun magazine. By the way, the wrist warmers I wear, they are my most previous, I think, finished last week, made by some leftover yarn. I have talked about it on Instagram in Norwegian, but I will not do that now. Maybe I will talk more about them later, because they are part of a bigger project. But what I'm going to show you now is what I'm working on, and it's a child's sweater. Here I have the body, and I'm working on the first sleeve, and I will put it together with this raglan design. I think raglan is what you say in English also. That's what they say in Norwegian. This is an old traditional pattern. I remember it from, maybe not when I was a child, but I remember it from when I was a youth, because all the very tough boys, they had this. It's called in Norwegian and Islander. Islander is the translation, or maybe Icelander, because Islander is in Norwegian is a kind of word we say for a person from Iceland. But I don't think this pattern actually came from Iceland. I think it's something traditional Old Norwegian. I'm not quite sure actually. But it has got a renaissance, so a lot of people are making this Islander for the moment. I'm using Rauma Finull, and I found a free pattern for the children's size on rauma.no, the web page of Rauma yarn. They also have an English web page. I don't know if they have the pattern free in English. Probably they have. I'm making it in size 2 years old, and I'm making it for a very fresh little boy in our family who was born less than a month ago. It's the grandson of one of my brothers, and he lives on an island up in Lofoten, up north in Norway. So he will have this one. I also plan to, when this one is finished, to make 3 different ones for my grandchildren. We have 3 grandchildren, my husband and I. Leander, who is 6. Milian, who will be 3 on Saturday. And Vida, who is 1.5. 3 years ago, I think it was 3 and 2 years ago, I made sweaters for my whole extended family. For myself, for my husband, for our 4 children, 2 children's-in-law, and at that time I started with for 1 grandchild, and then now I have made for all 3 of them. The size is growing as the children grows. Then I made the Icelandic lupapeisa, the very traditional lettloopy Icelandic sweaters with this pattern over here. So I think I made 11 or 12 all in all. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture of all of us together. I hope to have one sometime. I had planned to do it over Christmas. One of our sons is living in Stockholm, and over Christmas we were together, all of us, but with the COVID and with illness and with flus and with the dark days, I never came around to actually take a picture, but maybe one day. So now I hope to do this Islander, at least for the children. And when my husband saw it, he wants one. And then one of our daughters saw it, and she said, well, yes, she could like to have one as well. So, but of course, making these Islander is a lot more work than doing the lupapeisa. The needles are thinner, and since it's pattern all over, it's more work. So we'll see what I will do. Talking about a new member of our extended family, the grandson of my brother, one of my brothers. I have 3 brothers, and another one of them got a granddaughter, his very first grandchild. I think it was 3 days ago on Monday. And I have made a gift because we knew it was going to be a girl. So I have made this dress for her. It should have been ironed, but well, you can partly see it. This dress is, I have made it based on a dress which was made for me when I was a little baby. So I didn't have a pattern, but I just counted out to find out how to make it. The one for me has gotten some holes, probably by a moth or something, I'm not sure. So I have made one for Vida, our granddaughter, and here is one which will go to Stockholm in Sweden, because that's where my niece, the mother of this little girl, is living. So those, now you have seen 2 of the projects I'm working on. I have to look at my notes, and I have to bend down. December has been a very tough month in our family. My father became ill over the Christmas week. He had to go to hospital. Now he is a care house where he can stay only for a short time. And we are working on finding a place in a care home for him. There has been so many visits to doctors, all those appointments, and my old mother, staying alone now for the first time in her life. Our two daughters have had the COVID. Our daughter-in-law has had it, or our son-in-law, and at least one of the grandchildren. We are not sure about the two others. So it has been, and the weather has been terrible. We have had weeks and weeks of rain and storm and rain and snow and storm and wind, and I don't know. But now it looks like things are going a little more back to normal. At least the weather is better, and of course so many of the children has made it through the COVID, made it in a good way, thank God. But I have had my knitting, which has been a great comfort to me, knitting and crochet. So through the month of January, I have been working on so many different projects. I have wanted to start something new every single day almost. And I have also finished several small projects. And one of the things I started on was to crochet these granny squares. I gathered a lot of my white leftover yarn. It's all in wool. And I just started to make snowy squares. So this is also some part of the winter's many faces. My snowflakes, snowy grandmother squares. I will make it into a blanket, which I call, what do I call it in English? Grandma's winter blanket. I have a Norwegian name of it, but translated it's Grandma's winter blanket. I think it will be very delicate. I only have 5 squares so far, but maybe this year, maybe next year, maybe in a 10 years time, it will be finished. Back to the cabin. We went there, as I said, on Monday. The weather was quite nice on Monday. On Tuesday it was even better, so we had a long hike. But then when we were going to drive home, or when we drove home yesterday after lunch, we wanted to drive when we still had daylight. It started to snow, and it was heavy snowing. I have these pictures or this footage to show you. Because I was sitting in the front seat, Terje is a very, very, very good driver. So I always feel safe when I'm driving with him. But on this, well, I felt safe kind of, but still it was very stressful. And especially when the wipers on the front window were filled with snow, so they couldn't clean the window. We had to stop, and it was difficult to find places to stop because the street were plowed, but not the what do you call them? The areas on the side of the street where you can have a stop. So it was so stressful, and we knew that one place the road would be closed, but they would open up every hour to let the cars go through. And because of the weather, because of all the snow, it took us longer to come to this place than we had planned. So Terje had to drive, well, not too far for the speed limit, but a little too far, I felt, for the bad weather. But we made it, and we made it first over one mountain pass, and then over the next one, and it stopped snowing. The roads became much better, and when we came down from this second mountain pass, we stopped and had an early dinner at a restaurant. We had sushi, which was great. So, well, our cabin is situated on the western coast of Norway, in a small village, or outside a small village called Aure. My grandpa, one of my grandfathers, Grandpa Johannes, was born in the village, and so we still have family there. And the land for our cabin was my parents bought it from my father's cousin back in 1975. The cabin was set up in 1976, and then we bought it from my parents in the year of 2000. So it's mine and Terje's now, and we love to go there. It's simple. It doesn't have water. We have to walk to the well to fill the buckets with water. We have to go outdoors to a small house for the toilet. And we did not have electricity, but for a few years now we have had electricity. We still have to get the water in buckets, and Terje has renovated the little room for the toilet, and we have one which goes on electricity, which works on electricity. It's called Cinderella. Maybe that's an international trademark. So everything is so much better. But still, the cabin is small, and it has the most wonderful view in the world. We simply love it there. And when I am there and when the weather is good, I'm always outdoors, watching birds, watching the view, hiking, really enjoying being so close to nature. When the weather is not good, I'm indoors reading or knitting. And now I have something to show you. But first, before I talk about that, a little video for you. Look here. Could you find out what I'm working on? You see it here, but it's still not finished. It's a kind of cawl, and what I do is that I knit a very long kind of stripe. I have cast on 25 stitches, and I knit back and forth, and I use only leftover yarn in very bright colors. It is a special cawl knit along going on, run by, I think it's 2 German women. I will remember to put a link for that down below here, and you can also check out the hashtag newscawl. I will put the hashtag also below on Instagram. So what I will do now is to knit 5 meters of this, and then it will be sewn together. So now you see it makes a kind of it curls up, but when I sew it together I will put it out, and well, I will probably crochet it together, so it will be a cawl from the neck and down here. And also I will add a lot of creative stuff to it. So I don't know if I will ever wear it. Probably for some kind of display, but it will be a beautiful piece of art, I think. knitted art. So I so much love to work on this nose cawl, and I'm so much looking forward to finish it. And it gives me so many ideas for what you can possibly make with only leftover yarn and a circular needle, 2 double-pointed needles or 5 double-pointed needles, and a crochet hook, whatever. So this is really so much fun to work on. Before I'm sorry, it's just it's a little dry up here. Before I finish this with footage with the birds and the view and the hike from the cabin, I have one more thing to talk about. I am again looking in my notes, but I've forgotten to write about it here. In the Norwegian episode from last week, I read a poem from this book. It's a Norwegian book with Norwegian poems. The poems are all written by my father. You can see a picture of him here. And in the book, I helped my father to make his poems into a book, and found a photograph to every single poem, and all the photographs are by me. So this was a collaboration we did some years ago, and with my father's health problems for the moment, but yes, this picture is also by me. I felt it was so nice to be able to read one of his poems, and I will continue in the Norwegian episodes to read poems from this book. I even might have a surprise coming up in one of the upcoming episodes. And I know that some of you watch my Norwegian episodes, and I also got a message from one of you asking about this book, and I think I replied that I might do some reading in the English episode as well, but then I have to do some translation first, and I'm not a good poem translator. I have never tried it, and to translate one of my father's poems might mean that I change it. So, well, I haven't quite come to it yet. I might do it one day, I might not. But instead, I decided I want to talk about 2 other books for you here in the English episode, because they are connected to a project I'm planning. The period of Lent is coming up. For the past, I'm a Lutheran, a Christian. We don't very much celebrate Lent, no, not like in the Catholic Church, but still Lent is an important period of the year for me. Many years ago, 14 years ago, I wrote a book about Lent in Norwegian. And for at least 3 years, I think it is, here in the podcast, in the Norwegian episodes, I have been doing a very special, colorful Lent project over the 7 weeks of Lent, using the rainbow as an inspiration. This year, I don't think I will, well, maybe in the Norwegian episodes, I will do something using the rainbow. But here in the English episodes, I am planning something else. I don't know what comes out of it, and it might not be only a Lentil project, it might be for the rest of the year. We'll have to see, but I have very slowly started the planning, and I am planning to use this book. Are you familiar with it? The Lost Words by Robert Macfarlane and Jackie Morris. And the book has a little sister, which is called The Lost Spells, by the same author and artist. This book came along for a very special reason. And actually, I think I will read to you what Robert Macfarlane writes on his webpage about how it came along. The book began as a response to the removal of everyday nature words, among them acorn, bluebell, kingfisher, and wren, from a widely used children's dictionary, because these words were not being used enough by children to merit inclusion. But the lost words then grew to become a much broader protest at the loss of the natural world around us, as well as the celebration of the creatures and plants with which we share our lives in all their wonderful, characterful glory. You can find more on the page thelostwords.org, where it's written a lot about the book and how it has developed. And yes, it's an amazing story. I will not show you more from this book now, but I do have a plan to do something with these lost words of nature. Nature is very important to me, as I know it is to all of us. So I'm really looking forward to do something with this book. Maybe you want to come along, do something together with me. But as I said, I will talk more about it in later upcoming episodes, because I have been thinking of this for some time, but it's still so new for me. I haven't quite planned what to do. I also, I heard about the book for the first time through an American podcast, which I can't remember the name now. And then also, after I had started to making my plans, I was watching the Swedish podcaster Kia, which also has podcasts in English. So many of you might already follow her, Kia's Boot. And she also talked about this book. She didn't have The Little Sister, The Lost Spells, but she had this one, both in Swedish and in English. I don't think it's translated into Norwegian, which is bad. Maybe I should do something about that. And it's so funny, because she wants to use the book as an inspiration to do some creative stuff through the year. We have very different ideas on how to do it, which is great, I think, because we can inspire each other also. I can really recommend Kia's podcast, Kia's Boot. She does so much wonderful with her fiber arts, mostly knitting, but also a lot of other things, spinning, embroidery, and different things. I think that's all for today. My husband is out skiing, cross-country skiing. When he comes home, we will have lunch, and then we will go to my mother's house. She has a doctor's appointment first, and then we will go together with her to visit my father. Make yourself a nice day. Have a blessed day. See you again next week in Norwegian and then in English. Bye!